So welcome back to another terrible tales of gaming horrors. This one is basically an RPG story. And this is years after the first story, which I'll put a link below. The last one happened in the 1990s. This is about 2011 to 12. I just got them back to gaming, and my brother brought me to this place called Games Garage, which I won't talk about it in detail, but it was not that well run. And also, I did not know at the time, after this situation or this story happened, I started to talk around with people, and I found out that basically this group was started because some people were not very well liked in the communities, and they had to form their own little group in a way. Again, I can't prove this because, like I said, these are stuff I just started to hear about after I started telling this story. In fact, one of it was actually at an interview for a game store that they said, "Oh, you mean those guys?" So, but I gotta say, not all the members in that group are like that, but some are. So, basically, my brother introduced me to this place. I went there to check it out first time and looked okay. And after that, I got this message saying that I'm this person setting up a new RPG, and I was interested, and I signed up basically. And everything was going normal. You set up a WhatsApp group and everything, and we've made our characters. And first thing, to put out my own problems. I like to play underdog characters or very weak characters. So I made a halfling, and I made him super weak. No, it was a halfling monk. Yeah, that's right, halfling monk. But he was really weak in combat, so I was concentrating all on charisma and everything, And it was, and I asked, is this okay, And a lot of some people were saying like you should bump up the fighting skill, and I said like I don't really want to play a fighty character and everything, and I was really being serious about it. If you want me to play a certain, just literally, like, I want you to play a warrior, and his strength must be at least that, and you're making my character, I didn't want to play. I just like, guys, you guys can carry on. I wasn't being rude, and I was just like, God, I want to play a certain kind of game, and this is not my thing. I'll pull out. It's no problem, right? And then another DM kept saying no, and then he looked through my character sheet, and he's like, you know what, it's totally alright. And I go, you sure? And he's like, yeah, no problem. Okay, that's fine. So everything I thought got settled. You'll find out why later. Didn't. So we move on, and the group finally gathered one day, and basically we found out, at least at the day itself, that the group was not a small one. So the game starts, and already from past experience of hearing podcasts and that, I know that the group was way too big. Alright. But I kept quiet because my first game, and I thought, depends on the DM, right? First thing about the DM, very nice guy. Really, really nice guy. But nice guys doesn't make a good DM, because he couldn't control the Munchkins in the group and everything. That's how you will hear later about what happens. So let's start the story. And so we start the story, and it's basically think of Pathfinder Pathfinder, the system with the middle of map. Alright, so we gathered together, made our characters, and he decided he would be a what's the one between, is basically a warrior rogue. So he's playing that, and we all agree, because he's the Pathfinder Society, he's one of the leaders or something like that, I don't know. And so we all agreed that he would just be the de facto leader, or our glorious leader, basically. And then we moved down. This guy turned up late, but I'll just introduce him first. He literally turned up, and this guy is extremely well known for being a Munchkin. Story means nothing to this guy, and he turns up, and then the DM goes, okay, what's your character? Okay, pass me your character sheet. And he's like, I don't have one. And we're like, I literally was like, what? And he just literally turns to the back page, takes a pre-gen character, one of the pre-gens, and says, okay, this is my character. And we go, okay, what's his name? I'm not kidding. This guy goes, doesn't matter. and he just like like Bill or something like that. And okay, fine. Alright, so that's the one. So we got a wizard, human wizard, and then after that we have the Italian guy who's playing a halfling thief, who strangely is like my character, very weak in combat. Uh, and after that we have the guy from Hong Kong who only played Baldur's Gate computer games. So they also strangely they also gave him the exact same thing, like the guy who turned up late, human wizard. All right, and the guy was pretty good. He gave his character a name and everything. And when it's such a big group, sadly no one was listening, and everybody had to shout over each other to talk. So it's kind of like he just got ignored. Then he came to me, and I played a halfling monk, below strength 5 characteristics, but very high charisma and everything. Alright, and beside me was the other guy who's a munchkin. This guy is not very bad. I just put it out there now. He can RP if he wants, I guess, but he, at the end of the day, he doesn't care. He cares more about the rules and fighting. RP is like a side thing to him. But he wasn't a bad person because, I've talked to him before, and nice guy. Just not similar gaming styles we have. And the last one was the last guy who's very much into story and playing underpowered characters like me. In fact, sadly he turned up too late. I think we could have got along a lot more and gotten each other's contacts and everything. So basically now you got to review the characters. So we start off, and the story, we made it like the DM said that our glorious leader, the Pathfinder Society guy, was a guy at a dock collecting mercenaries and troops and warriors and glory hunters to go to another land and fight evil. So he's doing that, the standard slate. Alright, he's like, oh, come join upon this great adventure, blah blah blah. And then I'm the first one there, and he's like, how about you like to join? And he's like, I might not do very good voices, but to me it's RPG, just have fun, right? And I go, I said I would like to join. I'm a halfling monk, but here's the I'm a halfling monk with a very weird dressing, like white brim hat and everything. And somehow, I don't know why, he kept challenging me the whole game. He would just keep challenging me. He was like, oh, you would like to join, but you look really weak and all that. And he's like, and I go like, I'm weak, but I can talk my way out of everything. And he kept challenging me over and over and over. I don't know whether. And here's the thing, he wasn't not exactly for the RPG, the Pathfinder Society kind of guy. He was not RPing at all. He'd really be like, you don't look very strong, that kind of thing. But I don't know why he kept throughout the whole game he kept picking on me, in a way. But we'll get to that. And so we gathered our whole group and we sailed across the sea, promise of high pay and everything. And then we get off the boat. Alright, and this is the part where I start to see the problem with our glorious leader. Every time something happens, because we're waiting on him, right? Because he's the leader, right? And he's the guy who hired all of us. He would just I'm not kidding, just sit back in his chair and just do this and wait for the DM to say something. And so it's always just like staring about, waiting. And then the DM will say something in the end, but it gets really awkward because it's that fairly long silence. Again, so we walk inland, and then we get attacked by these orcs. Okay. And this is where the bulk of the huge problems start. We get into a fight and everything. I can't hit for nuts because I'm strength 5, basically way below strength, and I'm horrible at fighting. I depend on charisma and everything for my characteristics. Alright, and then this other person, the Italian guy who was playing a halfling thief, he wanted to RP that he was a very cowardly character, so he starts running away. And I'm not kidding, the guy who made the pre-gen wizard, not the Hong Kong guy, the Munchkin guy, he literally turns and he says, that's stupid, why are you doing that? Go and fight. He literally overridden his decision, the Italian guy's decision, and the Italian guy just went, okay. And he went out. And basically the whole fight, he was telling the Italian guy what to do. And then he started to tell what the other wizard with the Hong Kong guy what they should do. And the Hong Kong guy would say like, no, I want to come here and do this. I'm not kidding. The Munchkin wizard guy picked up his miniature and moved it for him. and basically told the DM that he's doing that. Horrible, right? I don't even get it, how these guys can just do this. And so we're going through the fight, and the dwarven guy went up and he's tanking, and he dies, or at least we all thought he died, because the the group itself was not doing too well. My character couldn't hit for nuts and everything, and before the thought of death of the dwarf, there's a point where even the wizard guy, you can tell how much of a munchkin he is. I keep missing because again I'm not good at fighting, and he goes, you know, I can't do anything, and this guy is freaking useless. You know, then everybody like, and okay, when he did that, everybody just sat back in their chair and go, whoa, you know, and I was like looking at it, and like, yeah, because to me at least it was not too much of a shock, because I didn't make my character to fight, and I just went, and it didn't appear to me as such an insult until later, but I was like, yeah, okay, you know, everybody was like telling him to calm down, and so we go through the fight, and the dwarf guy we thought died, and you know, I put a lot of time into the backstory, and I wrote paragraphs of backstory and everything, hours to make a character. So I felt bad for him, right? I turned around like, I'm sorry, you know, I really felt so bad for him. And I'm not kidding, he looks at me and he says, doesn't matter, because if Dogun dies, Dogun was his dwarf warrior's name, if Dogun dies, Doga will take over. If Doga dies, Dota will take over. If Dota dies, his uncle Dogin will take over. And he's like, are you serious? So basically he was immortal. Let's put it as that. Basically we use the same exact stats and just put it there. You know, if he died, then this guy would kind of... Think how stupid this is in the storyline sense. That basically this dwarf had his entire extended family following him about. And it was horrible. That means the guy would turn out like, oh, my son died. Okay, I pick out his equipment and I move on. Freaking stupid. Alright? In terms of story. But we found out actually we did some math wrong. And so he was actually alive. Critical, but alive. So the fight goes on. And then the fight ends. And we go into a little hut by the battleground, and I find this guy finally turned up, the transvestite elf ranger. So we just said like, oh, he was tied up in the corner. You know, the story got pretty cool then, right? You got transvestite elf ranger tied up in the corner, and I wanted to say something, and I started to notice our glorious leader again, the Pathfinder Society guy, was throughout the most of the fight was looking through rules. And this is the point he decided, and here's the thing, the fight's over. Fight's completely over, all the orcs are dead. This is the point where he decides to argue on attacks of opportunity, that's right. And they argue about attacks of opportunity for over 20 minutes. And here's the thing, the fight's over. They literally, him, the dwarf guy beside me, and the wizard guy, you know, the Munchkin wizard, they started arguing for over 20 minutes on this, and the fight's over. And so I get really tired of this, and I just turn to the DM and look at him, and then the DM's like going like, guys, then they just keep shouting over him, and so he just couldn't control the group. You know, nice guy, but seriously, he couldn't control the group. So I just got tired of this, and I said, you know, I'm going to untie the transvestite. And he's like, okay, yeah, and we're doing this, and I'm trying to shout across because I'm trying to RP with the guy who just turned up. And it was impossible. These guys were literally cutting us off. They were literally shouting. If I spoke in a certain tone, they would speak louder. And at this point, the Italian guy, the Hong Kong guy, and his girlfriend had enough. Completely enough. They just stood up and said like, "Oh, we gotta go." I might not turn up next week, that kind of thing, because you know we're busy, and everybody could tell things were going bad. And here's the strange part. After, you know, they said that and they left really quick. And when they left, the guy the Munchkin wizard, basically said that who needs them? They weren't good in the fights anyway, you know. And I'm like, mother, you know, in my head, you know, I was like that. And I took this opportunity, in fact, to say that, you know, I can only play another hour because I wanted to catch the last bus, and also because I don't want to play anymore. By this point, I told myself I was not going to turn up anymore. And sad part, the guy, that Munchkin wizard guy said, I'll drive you back. And I went, and I really wanted to leave. But the thing is that, again, the DM was such a nice guy, and I just went, fine. You know, I just thought suffer one day, right? At this point, this is not a period where I am now, where I'll just be very forward about it. This was still back then when I just got back into hobby and everything, so I stayed. And so we move on now. 3 members suddenly disappeared, and then we made the story that they didn't like the fight, so they went home. Alright, so we move on. And our little motley band reaches the town, and with a wall and a sentry, and the sentry goes, who goes there? And again, our glorious leader, Pathfinder Society guy, just again sits back down in his chair, saying nothing. So it's just complete silence. You know, it's like the sentry says again, who goes there? And I keep looking around like, is anybody going to do anything? And all of them are like, I'm not kidding, some of them even looking through websites on their iPad and everything, and it's like, what? So I just want this to end. So I go up and I say, I'm here to save the town. We're here to save the town. And I'm not kidding. Then the Pathfinder Society guys, what the hell are you doing? And I was like, no one was saying anything. And he's like, he rolls his eyes and he's like, let me handle this. You know, blah, blah, blah. We get in, basically. Okay, and again, the great RPG guy, the great Pathfinder Society guy, this guy RPs horribly. This guy is horrible. He literally, I'm not kidding, this is how the whole thing went. We go into town, he says, I look for the mayor. I find the mayor. I ask him where's a good place to stay. Okay, this inn and this inn. Okay, we go to this inn. Okay, and then when we get to the inn, and we get to a tavern in most RPGs, so the first thing you do, you ask for rumors and you mingle, right? Literally the guy just goes, I go in the inn and I go to sleep. And the DM goes, does anybody else want to do anything? And I'm like, and I say like, should we ask for rumors or whatever, you know? And he says like, whatever you want to do, doesn't matter. And I'm like, you know, more and more my enthusiasm has already gone. I just like, I go to sleep. So everybody goes to sleep. Wake up next day. Alright. Go to mayor, get mission. Okay, then we go to find the ranger. This ranger that will help us, guide us to this place. Alright, so again, we get to this place, the ranger hut is there and there's a dog there. Again, I've not played any RPG, I've not played Pathfinder before, I don't know about any of this stuff. We get there and then the DM says, okay, the dog notices all of you. And again, our glorious leader just sits back down in his chair and keeps quiet. And this time I'm already pretty pissed off and I keep going, you know, and it's silence, it's literally silence, and people are just not bothering to say anything. And the DM's like, okay, the dog sees you and all that. And I go, anybody? Anybody? And I got fed up and I just said, like, go forward and I shout, is anybody there? I'm not kidding, Pathfinder guy suddenly sits on the chair, he slaps his head and he goes, what the hell? Why are you doing this? And I go like, you're not doing anything. For God's sake, you know? It's like, then he's like, and I had to roll a test, and he's like, obviously the dog's gonna try to attack you, and it's like, you know, it's like, nah, the dog's gonna attack you, you should know that. It's like, you know, F you, you know. And I mean, I didn't say that, I was just like, whatever, I couldn't care less for the game anymore, to be honest. So we get the ranger, blah, blah, blah. And then we had to go into this swamp, and then here's another big event that happens. We walk into the swamp, and this long bridge. So in front is the dwarf warrior, and the way it's described is just obvious, right? We're gonna get attacked by something in the water, alright? And out of the blue, the dwarf warrior pulls out, I'm not kidding, a 15-foot pole from his backpack. And I look at him, and in character I go, what the hell are you doing with a 15-foot pole? And he turns to me and not even trying to RP, he goes, oh, it's in the Pathfinder forum that this is the set you should bring for adventures. You know, the immortal dwarf with the perfect pack of items. You know, so they poke around, blah blah blah, and then the Hydra pops out. Whoop-de-doo, and we fight. Alright, and so But this point, I just couldn't care less anymore. I just wanted to commit suicide. I'm not kidding. My dwarf, my halfling monk wanted to commit suicide. So I'm horrible at fighting. Remember that. And in the few rounds of fighting, I just literally said I picked up a torch because you need to cauterize the wounds of the Hydra so that the head won't grow out. You have to burn it basically. I said I pick up. I really wanted to die, so I said I pick up the torch and I run into combat. I probably should not have survived, but I think the DM didn't want me to die. So I managed to survive, and then the night ended. Alright, so I was like, I'm not coming back in my head and everything, and then now the second part, you think the night has ended, right? Nope. Credits roll, extra parts come up. The guy's driving me back, so it's the Munchkin wizard, and the dwarf are in the front seat, I'm the back. And I just want to keep quiet, and I just want to keep it civil till I get home and never meet these people again. And then they start talking about Warhammer, the miniature game, because you know, they know I played it before, so they talk about it. So we start talking about our armies and everything, and they start talking about how they don't get to play it often. And I'm like, oh, why? Because you play too much RPGs or whatever. You know, just trying to make conversation till we get off. And I'm not kidding. The Munchkin guy, wizard guy, says, oh, I don't get to play a lot. I think it's probably because I win too much. Ugh. Remember the last story I told if you go watch the link about why? Yeah, this guy, same thing, totally delusional. People in my head, I was like, nope, they don't play you because you're not a nice guy. You're horrible to play with. You have a horrible attitude. You know, you're a munchkin and you're horrible. So you know, the car gets along near my area. I did not even. It was close to my home, and I just told him just drop me here, and I walked the rest of the way home. I just want to get out of the car as fast as possible. And I never wanted to see them again. I just messaged the DM, and he's like, oh, you know, give it a chance. And I was like, nope, I'm not coming back. And this is the point of me where you can start to see my future self coming up, where I'm more forward about, you know, like the game's not going, I'm just gonna say it. Alright. And in fact, strangely, months later when I was doing a security job, just for some fast cash, I saw the Munchkin wizard guy, and he actually kind of, you know, you can tell, you know, we saw each other, and he kind of walked close to me, tried to get a conversation. I just avoided him throughout the whole day that I was there. But so let's get into the morals of the story. Be forward about it. I had a lot of warning signs. Like example, I knew about the Munchkin wizard guy was going to play. There was in the WhatsApp group people who did not set up their characters, and also people obviously who weren't too happy with the character synergy going on, telling other people what kind of characters to make, and the too nice DM, and also the other warning sign when you saw like 8 or 9 people in the group. Again, so many signs of things that this was going to go bad. And also I should have just gone home when the talent guy went home and just be forward about it. And you know, how many hours would I have saved? So at the end, they just be forward about it. So that's this story of terrible tales, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you very much. Till next word.